I'm joined now by Professor Harry Hutchison, and I wanted to get more into this discussion that was raised by President Trump last night about stopping the political prosecutions. He referenced the Judge Cannon case where she dismissed Jack Smith's charges against President Trump because of two sections of the United States Constitution, both the Appointments Clause and the Appropriations Clause, saying that one, he was not in a position of authority because the special counsel was not appointed through the normal process, which is set out in our laws. And then also that the fact that Jack Smith had nearly an unlimited budget to continue to run this prosecution. That was even something that was brought up in the hearing she held about whether or not he could remain on the case. She brought up, well, where does your funding come from? And the lawyers for the Department of Justice said, well, we have this place we can go, but if that runs out, we'll just get money from wherever, completely eliminating the role of oversight that Congress has with the power of the purse to appropriate money to the executive branch. So I want to play this bite, and it's a little bit longer. We played it earlier in the broadcast, but it really encapsulates everything we've been talking about here at ACLJ for months and years, really, when it comes to lawfare that's being waged by the left. Jordan hosted a panel at the RNC with Rick Grinnell and Ben Cisney, an attorney here at ACLJ, on this very topic of lawfare earlier in the week on Tuesday. And we got readouts from him on that earlier in the broadcast this week. So you should go check that out on Tuesday's broadcast to hear about that panel if you missed it. But I want to go ahead and play this soundbite, and then I'll go to Professor Harry Hutchison to talk about what he reads from this and kind of where the state of that case goes as Jack Smith filed a notice of appeal on Wednesday to fight the ruling of the judge in that case. Let's go ahead and play bite 3 from President Trump last night.
And we must not criminalize dissent or demonize political disagreement, which is what's been happening in our country lately at a level that nobody has ever seen before. In that spirit, the Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy, especially since that is not true. In fact, I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country. And very big news, as you probably just read, on Monday, a major ruling was handed down from a highly respected federal judge in Florida, Aileen Cannon, finding that the prosecutor and the fake documents case against me were totally unconstitutional, and the entire case was thrown out of court. With all of that publicity, thrown out of court. If Democrats want to unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years. And they should do that without delay and allow an election to proceed that is worthy of our people. We're going to win it anyway.
Professor Hutchison, that bite there, he went through the litany of it. He even goes back to that he's been going through this witch hunt or this lawfare against him for nearly 8 years, starting with the Russia collusion narrative, which was disproven, and the hiring of a special counsel. He's very familiar with special counsels, but now what we see out of Florida is a judge at the district level saying that the appointment of these special counsels flies in the face of the Constitution. What was your take on the bite from President Trump and as well the state of that case?
Well, of course, President Trump was precisely correct. And so that raises the question, why has Donald Trump faced several state criminal cases in New York and in Georgia? Why has he faced 2 federal criminal cases in Florida and D.C.? Why have lawyers throughout the country, from Colorado to Maine, sought to disqualify Donald Trump from seeking the presidency? Why has he faced 2 impeachment cases in addition to the Russia collusion case, which was prosecuted by Adam Schiff and essentially by Bob Mueller? He's faced these attacks as part of a lawfare campaign because the claim is he is a threat to democracy. In reality, Donald Trump is a threat. He's a threat to the progressive agenda, which systematically seeks to subvert the interest of middle-class and lower-class Americans who believe in the Constitution, who believe in the rule of law. And at the ACLJ, we have partnered, if you will, with President Trump in a number of legal cases by filing amicus briefs designed to defend the Constitution. And so if you focus, for instance, on the documents case in Florida, which Judge Aileen Cannon dismissed, in that particular case, we had two provisions of the Constitution which basically defied Jack Smith's claim to jurisdiction. And most Americans understand the Appropriations Clause and the Appointments Clause. And it is clear beyond question that Jack Smith was appointed in defiance of those constitutional provisions. And that is one way of clawing back from this lawfare campaign that the Democrats insist upon.
There is something that Rick Grinnell often says on this broadcast is when the left accuses you of doing something nefarious, it's oftentimes the case that they are the ones doing it themselves. And when you look at their claims that he's subverting democracy, he's against democracy, going so far as to say he's a threat to democracy or could end democracy, a lot of the things the left has been doing against President Trump is undemocratic, for lack of a better term, whether it be trying to utilize the courts and the legal system to prevent him from running, whether it be the 14th Amendment challenges, which we at the ACLJ represented the Colorado Republican Party to try to ensure that voters there could vote for the candidate of their choice because he had qualified to be on the ballot, and they tried to keep him off. Very undemocratic move. Now you see them pushing very hard against their own nominee, the sitting president of the United States, that voters voted for in a primary and are sending delegates to a convention to put him as their nominee. When the threat of them holding power is slipping from their hands, they will do anything but go through with the democratic process to try to hang on to that power. And then you look at Jack Smith using the special counsel, which many people have criticized the appointments of special counsels for many years, that as soon as the independent counsel statute ran out and special counsels became a thing, now you're looking at them using something that very much could fly in the face of the Constitution to go after a political opponent. That in and of itself is very undemocratic, and that's what the left is doing. But Harry, we saw that Jack Smith, he filed a notice of appeal with the appeals court, the 11th District, which is out of Atlanta, to try to appeal this ruling from Judge Cannon. What are your thoughts on what could happen at the appeals court? And do you think it even matters at the appeals court? This is probably going to the Supreme Court no matter what.
Very good questions. First, I would say this case is probably going to the Supreme Court no matter what. But number two, if we simply focus on the legal merits of Jack Smith's appeal, it is clear beyond question, in my opinion, that what we are dealing with is the elite's belief that they have the sole right to rule. So elites, by their very nature, are anti-democratic, and that includes members of the Department of Justice. It includes Jack Smith, but it also includes the talking heads on many of the so-called mainstream media channels who believe that it is their preferences that should be controlled or control the country. And so they basically oppose rule by the American people. Donald Trump represents the interests of the American people, working class people, individuals who have lost jobs, individuals who have difficulty affording a mortgage. And the elites oppose their interests. So they are going to continue to push this agenda, and indeed they have pushed this agenda for the last 50 to 60 years.
Folks, we are in the middle of our Life and Liberty Drive this month of July, and we do work each and every day that can't be done without your support. Your support enables us to file FOIA requests like the one we filed just yesterday to the Secret Service and Department of Homeland Security to get answers on the security breakdown and the assassination attempt of President Trump. You enable us to submit FOIA requests against the military base, Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, that called pro-life advocates terrorists. And we're preparing to file a lawsuit to protect election integrity against a fraudulent pro-abortion amendment in Arizona. We'll talk more about that in the weeks ahead. And we continue to take global legal action to support Israel and defend them. Folks, we can't do this without you. Your gift is doubled during our Life and Liberty Drive. Go to aclj.org and have your donation doubled today.